In 1750, the famed 18th century comedic actress Catherine Kitty Clive decided to try her hand at writing her own play titled The Rehearsal, or Bays in Petticoats. Clive's play is a loose adaptation of a Restoration-era comedy, also called The Rehearsal, by the second Duke of Buckingham, George Villiers. The source text upon which Clive's play was based was first staged in 1671 and published anonymously in 1672. The Rehearsal concerns an untalented playwright named Bays, who was punished for his arrogance by having his heroic drama loudly criticized by its viewers during a rehearsal. Buckingham's The Rehearsal was so popular that it became a staple of 18th century theater, spawning an entire genre of rehearsal plays, known for their over-the-top melodramatic style and featuring histrionic playwrights who are cruelly mocked by their so-called adoring public. As Buckingham's play was acted throughout the 18th century, it was reimagined in a number of ways, including as a breeches part. The breeches part was a man's role played by a woman in drag for added comedic effect. In a 1740 production of The Rehearsal, Kitty Clive took on a breeches part, starring as the lead character Bays. However, Clive's performance met with harsh criticism, not necessarily for her acting, but rather for her unsuitable physique. Unlike women's petticoats, breeches left little to the imagination, so the actresses who were cast to play men's roles typically had boyish bodies. Consequently, audiences were scandalized by Clive's decision to expose her overly curvaceous figure in skin-tight trousers. The public attacks on Kitty Clive's indecency and shamelessness attempted to limit her performance to a circumscribed and narrow range of roles that the audience had come to expect from the matronly comedic actress. By writing The Rehearsal, or Bays in Petticoats, a decade after her disastrous performance, Clive reattempted the role of Bays according to her own terms. Furthermore, Clive uses the medium of her play to explore the difficulties faced by performers, especially actresses, who attempted to break away from typecasting. Clive is deliberate in her usage of the much maligned genre of the English burletta, otherwise known as the burlesque, to subvert audience expectations about what constitutes good theater. Originating from Italy, the 18th century burletta was a parody of opera and is a genre to which our modern-day musical theater is indebted. Reserved for comedic subjects, the burletta consists of recitatives, which are pieces sung using the same intonation as normal speech.
Dear friends, you arrive at a difficult moment. You shall not find me very cheerful.
And arias or airs, which are melodic turns often sung to tunes of popular music. Although the burletta is seen as low comedy or farce, the success of its performance hinges upon a keen sense of comedic timing when it comes to reading and responding to an audience. In other words, a successful burletta often required far more skill than its playwrights and performers were credited for. The Rehearsal, or Bays in Petticoats, also serves as a self-deprecatory deconstruction of 18th century celebrity culture. Clive not only casts herself in the leading role of the unappreciated female playwright, Mrs. Hazard, but also much of the play's tongue-in-cheek comedy centers on the character of Kitty Clive, who never arrives to the eponymous rehearsal. Here in the role of Mrs. Hazard, Clive repeats much of the criticism levied against the real-life actress by her detractors, including reports that Clive was high-strung, unreliable, and ill-educated. In The Rehearsal, Clive seems to suggest that public scrutiny when it comes to the private lives and reputations of performers and playwrights, obscures the objective appraisal of the quality of their work. Indeed, much of the criticism that Mrs. Hazard faces focuses on her transgressing the bounds of what is deemed socially appropriate for a woman, rather than the actual content of her play.